Hello Brawlers and welcome! Today we'll be going over Special Attack Bakugan. Special Attack Bakugan are those that have special gimmicks, whether they're a unique mold, open up in unusual ways, or glow in the dark. Some of these Bakugan have special effects in battle, or help out when being rolled, or just look really flashy. We'll be going over all of these Bakugan and how they work. In our last video on Special Treatment Bakugan, we mentioned that Special Attack Bakugan are considered special treatment. At least they are in more modern versions of the Legacy Bakugan rules. We cited an archived Mechtanium Surge FAQ in our last video, which includes this ruling. We'll leave the link to that page in the description. Thanks to the original writers of that FAQ, and to the Bakugan Wiki for citing it. Anyway, it's time to get started.
Okay, let's do this!
First up is Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal Bakugan have a ring of metal around the outer shell of the Bakugan, giving them more stability when rolling, and enabling them to be used in different ways when rolling. As far as we can tell, these are one of the most common Special Attack Bakugan, which also means they're usually not as expensive. Usually. A lot of them were also released as standard Bakugan as well, so you can pick which version you like better. Spin Top Bakugan, also called BakuCyclone or BakuBlitz, are Bakugan which have upper halves that spin whenever they open. This can make them very good at knocking other Bakugan off of gate cards depending on how their individual mechanism works, and they'll look awesome regardless. Some Bakugan like Cross Dragonoid or Knight Percival were only released as Spin Top, while other Bakugan like Neo Dragonoid, Ultimate Dragonoid, and Percival were released both as Spin Top and as normal non-spinning Bakugan. These Bakugan generally had a suffix to announce which version they were, such as Neo Dragonoid Vortex, Ultimate Dragonoid Typhoon, or Percival Vortex for their Spin Top versions. Element Change and G-Power Change, also unofficially called Element Wheel, Attribute Wheel, or G-Power Wheel, are Bakugan that have a wheel that spins when they open, randomizing either their attribute or G-Power. Most of these Bakugan have 3 options on their wheels. For all you high rollers out there, Dual Elfin Revolution has both wheels for maximum randomness. These Bakugan were usually released as standard Bakugan as well. Jump Bakugan, also called Boost, is a rare special attack where a Bakugan is designed to have some kind of protrusion which causes it to jump when rolled. An example of this is Skyrus, whose head crest can be deployed when backspun to cause the Bakugan to hop. We don't have the dexterity to do this, but there's lots of cool videos online like this one of people doing it.
Sick skills!
Turbine and BakuZoom are for all the Beyblade fans in the audience. These Bakugan have an internal gyroscope spun with a ripcord. After being ripped, the Bakugan can be placed on a flat surface and will roll on its own. Light Up or BakuBolt are glowing Bakugan, usually lighting up when they open on a gate card. Some of the BakuBolt Bakugan also make sounds. Dice Thrower Bakugan are Bakugan which deploy a 6-sided die when opened. This die will determine a Bakugan's attribute or G-Power, similar to Element Change or G-Power Change Bakugan. BakuTremor are Bakugan that can be wound up to vibrate when opened. BakuVice are Bakugan which have strong spring-loaded parts designed to look like they're grabbing or restraining the enemy Bakugan if aimed right, or, more likely, to push them off of cards. Don't know why this is a thing, considering the official rules don't seem to allow sphere attacks, but hey. Double Magnet Bakugan are Bakugan which have 2 magnets instead of 1, meaning they can open on 2 sides. The only known double magnet Bakugan is Preus 2, the version of Preus' evolution which includes both Preus Diablo and Preus Angelo. Depending on which magnet contacts the gate card, you will get a different half of the Bakugan to open with different G-power. This Bakugan is expensive, but man is it cool! DoubleStrike Bakugan are Bakugan which have the special ability to open additional pieces of themselves, usually with the press of a button or switch somewhere on the Bakugan. During battle on an opponent's gate card, you can choose to deploy the second action of your DoubleStrike Bakugan to gain additional G-power. You cannot use this feature during battle on your own gate card though, meaning you'll only use the printed G-power revealed when the Bakugan is first opened, which should be the higher one. Next up is Sky and Gaia Dragonoid. Sky and Gaia Dragonoid are really cool. When opened, this Bakugan splits in two. If both halves land on gate cards, they're treated as two separate Bakugan. This means if you land on two different gate cards with each piece, then you can potentially start two battles at the same time. If this happens, the brawler using Sky and Gaia Dragonoid picks which battle they want to occur first. If both pieces land on the same gate card, then you move one piece to the other gate card. Unfortunately, these Bakugan cannot double stand, so if both pieces land on the same gate card and it's the last gate card in the arena, then you pick which piece you want to remain on the gate card and which piece will move to your used pile. Each half stays in the used pile until the other half moves to the used pile as well. From there, they're combined and moved to the unused pile together. Next is Dartaak. Now, I know what you're thinking. What is this Bakugan? And truth be told, it's not a sphere for some reason, but it kinda looks like a weapon, which is neat. This Bakugan fires a projectile when opened, and this functions more like a standard DoubleStrike than it does something like Sky and Gaia Dragonoid. If you land on an opponent's gate card, you take the G-power printed on the base of Dartaak and add the G-power listed on the projectile. If you land on one of your own gate cards, you only use the G-power listed on the base, the part with the magnet. By the way, as far as we can tell, all sources do confirm that both Sky and Gaia Dragonoid and Dartaak are considered DoubleStrike Bakugan. Next is BakuMutant. BakuMutant is a Mechtanium Surge special attack, wherein Bakugan can be split in half and swap parts with one another. Freaky. These Bakugan also have multiple G-powers listed on them. If your BakuMutant is single attribute, meaning both halves match attributes, you can add the G-power on the top half of the Bakugan to whichever G-power is larger on the bottom half. If your BakuMutant is dual attribute, you add the G-power on the top half of the Bakugan to whichever G-power is smaller on the bottom half. You'll have to choose whether you want power or flexibility. Alright, next up is Baku Sky Raiders. Strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a long one. Baku Sky Raiders are Bakugan that jump when opened. They're different from jumping Bakugan, I swear. Instead of being able to jump while rolling, these Bakugan will jump when they pop open, as they're spring-loaded, usually in their feet. Obviously, it would be insanely hard to aim one of these Bakugan and get them to stick to a gate card, so the official rules state that these Bakugan can be placed on any gate card in the arena, as long as they opened and jumped off of a gate card. If they open anywhere else, they're moved to the used pile. You do still get to choose which gate card you want your Sky Raider on, even if you jump up and land on a gate card. Again, all you need to do is get your Bakugan to jump off of a gate card. Where it lands doesn't matter. Except, it does. Each Baku Sky Raider comes with a reference card, which can be placed in the arena at the beginning of a brawl. You cannot place these cards under or above a gate card. If your Baku Sky Raider lands on their reference card, you can make use of the special ability on the card, which usually just gives your Baku Sky Raider more G-power based on its attribute, before being moved to a gate card as usual. If you land on another Sky Raiders card, you don't get to use the ability on the card. Also, these cards are reference cards, so they're separate from your 3 gate cards and 3 ability cards, but you may only have 1 per brawl. Understand? Good, because I don't. BakuFusion, because no one can escape Yu-Gi-Oh! BakuFusion are funny. These Bakugan have a special rule where if you stand both of the individual Bakugan on the same gate card before your opponent does, you can combine them to automatically win the card. This is like a double stand, except you can do it even when there are multiple gate cards in the arena. As goofy as this is, the real comedy comes from the fact that there's like 2 of these. I guess 4 if you're counting the individual pieces.
2 + 2 is 4!
For some reason, Meta Altair doesn't count as a BakuFusion, but I guess they just hadn't come up with the rules for these guys yet. And while it's outside the scope of this video, no, Maxis Dragonoid and Maxis Helios are not BakuFusion either, nor are Dragonoid Colossus or Dartaak Colossus. They're just a plot to sell more toys. Pretty cool looking toys to be fair, but BakuMine are Bakugan that have a top piece which can pop off when hit by another Bakugan. If your BakuMine is detonated, then you use only the G power listed on the bottom half of the Bakugan. The main piece, if you will. But if your BakuMine is not detonated, then you add the G power from the top piece of the Bakugan as well. I'd say this is the only special treatment Bakugan whose whole gimmick is one you want to avoid using in battle, but White Naga also exists, so...
Silence!
BakuBlasters are a European-exclusive special attack type, which features Bakugan that fire a projectile called Baku Discs. These discs have G powers printed on them, and each BakuBlaster came with a reference card that enabled the BakuBlasters to gain the G power listed on their discs, as well as additional effects if their Baku Discs were to strike an opponent's Bakugan. That wraps up Special Attack Bakugan. Let us know if we forgot any, and let us know what your favorite Special Attack Bakugan are in the comments. Big thanks to the Bakugan Wiki, fandom page, and the writers of the Mechtanium Surge FAQ for the information on these Bakugan. As always, we hope you enjoyed this video. That's all for now. See ya!